I don't think anybody that's reading that letter trusts Chris McIntosh or Luke Fickell to do those things, because really there's no plan. It's just saying we're going to invest. It doesn't break down how they're going to do it. Are they looking? I mean, there was no link with the article to donate, so there's that, I guess. But it certainly felt like there was some, hey, we need more money, and we're looking at you for more money. And you talked about this a little bit. You talk about the investment. They have invested in facilities. They've invested in coaches. It's been a bad investment, obviously, at this point with Luke Fickell. But when he was hired, his salary was $3.5 million more than Paul Chris was making. Like, they invested in that. This is, for me, is simply about the players and trying to get better players here. That, to me, is what that message was about. A whole lot of sizzle and not much steak. That's what I would say about this entire 2.5 years of Luke Fickell, and Chris McIntosh has to be thrown in here. A lot of things have been said, and very little has been done.
It's the voice of Zach Heilprin on the camp. He does that with Jesse Temple. We'll talk with Jesse tomorrow, but I find this Chris McIntosh statement so interesting that we need to double dip this week. We need to have more than one Badger guest. We need to go above and beyond. No better person than that voice you just heard. The perfect cut to get us into this segment with our sports director, Zach Heilprin, who I did not have the pleasure of seeing in the office today, but hopefully at some point this week. Zach, hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did see you yesterday.
I did, and it was a pleasure. This Ohio State game does nothing for. I have nothing. I don't want to even. Is the statement. First off, did you expect a statement? Did you expect anything this week? Did you feel like something was necessary?
Perhaps necessary, mainly just because it got outlet from. Obviously, the State Journal reported that Chris McIntosh talked to the team last week, and at least one player, probably more, came out of that meeting expecting Luke Fickell to be back. And when that broke, everyone has to be up in arms about it, because there's been no reason for Luke Fickell to be back. He has done nothing to deserve to be back at this point. And for McIntosh to come out and say what he did, I think you heard my thoughts there earlier, but I kind of stand by those. And I'll just say, I guess wasn't expecting anything out of him, but he already did this last month. He did the whole pull the State Journal and the Journal Sentinel off to the side after the Maryland game and say, he's got my full confidence behind him. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach get to vote to confidence in just about a month's time. I think that's new.
So I am not a college football expert like you and Jesse, but I've heard people this week refer to this as the dreaded vote of confidence. I wasn't familiar with this concept. So you're shaking your head. Well, not really. I don't know. How often have I had to be aware of such things in my lifetime? The Badgers have never needed a coach to get a dreaded statement of confidence.
I mean, we hear it with owners all the time. Like Jerry Jones will do it all the time.
I'm the Packers owner. Which owner would be issuing that in Green Bay?
So you only know about the Packers. You don't talk about anything else that happens in the sports world.
This is the Wisco sports show, after all.
You are locked in. I find it hard to believe that you don't know what a vote of confidence is, but either way,
I know what it is. I didn't realize it was considered such a bad thing. That's what I've learned this season, mostly through you.
I think it's the idea that whenever you get a vote of confidence, 10 days later you're fired, like that type of thing.
Really,
kind of what Chris McIntosh did to Paul Chris 3 years ago. He said he's my guy, and 5 days later he was out. So that is the dreaded vote of confidence. But he gave him the dreaded vote of confidence last month. So I didn't really think that this was necessarily anything new.
What is Chris McIntosh trying to accomplish with this letter? And what do you think actually was accomplished with this letter?
I mean, it's clear that he's trying to control the narrative around the program, because there is so much toxic energy around this program right now. And we and Jesse talked about on the camp is he said he's never felt this much toxicity around a program that he's covered. And he's been here since 2011. So that's even taken into account what happened 3 years ago. That's taken into account what happened after Gary Anderson left. So he's been through a lot, and I would totally agree with that. I think it's the toxic nature of it. I think it's the nobody showing up. I think it is a whole lot of different things that are being said out there and being yelled out into the universe that for some reason Chris McIntosh thought he needed to come out and defend or explain. But at this point, it's tone deaf, because nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. They want to see good, competent football, and they have not seen that. They're not competitive, Grant. Like last year, you were at least competitive in those home games for a while against Penn State. You had a lead into late in that game. And then obviously you led Oregon late, but they have not been competitive in any outside of the Michigan game. And I don't even know if we can really call that competitive after the first drive. They have not been competitive against any Power 4 opponent. They got blown out at Iowa, got blown out at Nebraska, got hammered by Minnesota, got hammered down there by Alabama. We know what happened against Maryland. Yes, the Michigan game, but they haven't scored in 2 weeks. They really haven't scored. They haven't scored a touchdown since the first quarter of 3 games ago. So no one wants to hear it. They don't believe anything that is coming out of the athletic department because, as I said before, it is all sizzle and no steak. Like, it is just complete words and there's no action behind it. And so I don't think anything that he says matters. It's about action. And at this point, I don't know what action he can take to get people back on board, except to fire Luke Fickell. But if you fire Luke Fickell, why should Chris McIntosh get to choose the next guy?
Yeah, correct. And that's why the situation is tricky. I want to talk about the Luke Fickell of it all at the end. A couple more things on the statement. People have really come out angry at McIntosh, which is understandable. But people at the highest levels of the university, right? Chancellor Mnookin, I believe it's pronounced. She did a good job at my brother's commencement. That's the only experience I've ever had with her. I saw her speak in May. That's the only reason I even knew who she was. People said, well, she doesn't even like football. The university doesn't even care about football. And what I mentioned on my show, and I texted you about this last night too, well, they cared enough at one point to spend $8 million a year on a coach. And the calculus of that hire made sense at the time. He's not a Wisconsin guy, but he's defense, wrestling, Midwest, did it at Cincinnati. You can connect those dots. I would imagine that Wisconsin figured they'd get a little bit more out of their investment in that coach. Even if they didn't have bajillions to spend on players, I bet they thought they would be better than the worst team in the Power 4, which is kind of currently what they look like.
I mean, they are certainly in the running for the worst Power 4 team in the country. I mean, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, there's probably a couple others that you could throw in there, Mississippi State, Purdue. But I think even right now, Purdue may beat Wisconsin.
They can score.
Because they can at least score. Yes. I thought it was hilarious after the game. Luke Fickell was just like, and there's a lot of things to be disappointed about, but the one big thing is the scoreboard. If we're not going to be able to score, we're not going to give ourselves a chance. Oh, really? That's a good one. That's a good one, Luke. Appreciate that. What was the question again?
They invested. People say doesn't care. And maybe they don't spend enough on players, but my point is, guys, that's why they hired Luke Fickell. That was a huge hire and a huge investment.
And as I texted you back, I think they invested in the coaching, at least the head coach. Mm-hmm. The coaching pool, the assistant coaching pool is probably not where it needs to be. I think that there's more investment needed there. And they've invested in facilities. They redid, Camp Randall's it's been completely changed and altered in the last 20 years. And
that
even in the last
field too, baby, that heated field.
Yes, for when they're hosting playoff games. And not WIA state title games. Like
that came up on Bill's show earlier today because he's like, I can't wait for state football. Maybe it'll snow. I'm like, didn't they forget to turn the heat on last year?
They did.
Okay.
But the whole new South end zone, like they've invested in facilities, they've invested in things that are going to bring in money. The new practice facility, it's $285 million, $100 million of it, I believe, is donor money. I'm not sure if they're all the way up there yet. I know a big donation part of it was Ted Kellner. So that was part of it because they've been lacking in facilities for a very long time, but they've invested in those things. Then those are great. That's awesome. But you need to invest in all three. It can't just be the coaching and the facilities. It has to be the players. And I think if we're being fair, it's the most important part. Maybe in combination with the coach, but it's right there. They're right next to each other. You have to invest in the players. And quite honestly, Luke Fickell's gotten a lot of the guys that he wanted, recruiting-wise, high school recruiting-wise.
The classes have been good. I was going to say, like, that hasn't been a problem.
The class this year is not at all. And most of those guys are, not most of them, a handful of them are looking elsewhere.
It's not getting better.
Which I totally understand from their point of view. But yeah, the last two classes have been solid, and a lot of those guys are probably going and would be. Some of them are hurt, but a lot of them are playing, and a lot of them are going to be important pieces if they can keep them here and moving forward, because they are going to form the base of what they're trying to build. But the transfer portal, you have to be better there. You have to spend more money there. You have to be able to get the key guys. Like I saw the salaries for the top 25 quarterbacks were in the portal last year, and Wisconsin's Billy Edwards was not among them. So he was not even in the top 25. I've seen some people saying he's getting $1.5 million. He's not even getting $1 million. It's less than $1 million. So I think that's where it starts. It's going out and getting the quarterback, and I guess maybe crossing your fingers and hoping he stays healthy.
Still getting paid too much, but that's fine.
Who,
I guess
Fickell?
no. Well,
Or the
probably.
players?
I meant Billy Edwards Jr. All the players are
Oh,
getting.
yeah.
They
Well, I
should-
mean, Billy's not playing, so if he was playing, you might think differently.
Maybe.
But
I guess
let's just be fair about this right now. If Billy Edwards is playing, they're still losing these games. They're not. He's not 37 points difference against Iowa. He's not a 34 point difference against Ohio State. He's not a whatever it was against Alabama. He's not. So we need to stop with that. And everyone's he was 8-3 with his number one quarterback being able to make it through an entire game. Look at those wins. Who did they beat?
they're at the beginning of the year before the guy goes down. Yeah, not their Power 4 opponents. And I want to talk about Luke Fickell's future, but I guess just to cap my point that I'm making, when people say, well, they need to spend more on players and they need to invest, I would lose more sleep over that idea if I turned the games on Saturday and thought, man, they're well coached and there's something there and they're building and they play hard and they got a clue. They just don't have the talent. I don't get any of that watching them on Saturday. So I would like to feel like Luke Fickell is at least making the most of the players that he has before really getting fired up about trying to get him better players.
His whole thing is make the players or coach the players up to beyond their God-given ability. That's how he evaluates his staff. That's how he evaluates himself. And I don't know how anyone can sit here and say that he's getting better than the God-given ability that some of these guys have. I just don't. They're not a well-coached team. They continually have shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. And I'm not even talking about the Ohio State game. It is what it is. They're not anywhere close on that level, but they should be obviously competitive against Iowa and competitive against Maryland, and they weren't in either of that. And the coach is a huge part of that. You think Iowa has, like, when guys get there, do you think Iowa has more talent coming into their program, or are they really good at developing it and knowing who they are? And that's what you used to be able to say about Wisconsin, and that has not been the case. And I know it's tough in this era where guys, if they're not playing, want to get out and go somewhere else. That's just the way it is. But Iowa has still maintained the ability to develop guys. Wisconsin has not under Luke Fickell.
And something they're going to have to figure out how to do. Does this statement make you feel more or less confident in Luke Fickell making it through this season and even being back for next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear he's going to make it through the season. And I think it's also pretty clear just based on some of it feels clear that Chris McIntosh is not going to do that because, again, I think his fate is intertwined with Luke Fickell's. And at this point, he's so deep into this, I don't know that he can admit the mistake. I don't know that he can admit that it was the wrong choice. All he can do is try and give him more resources to to potentially cover up that mistake. And I don't know. Maybe it works. I have no idea. But I don't think Luke Fickell's a horrible coach, but I don't think he's a fit for Wisconsin. And he may go on and be a great coach somewhere else, but it's not going to be at Wisconsin. And Chris McIntosh went all in on him. He's here and has to live with it.
What happens if they bring him back next year and through the first 4 or 5 games it looks like this or worse?
Well, I mean, yes. I guess my
question more is like, what does anybody do? Like,
well, here's my question, or here's my thought on the idea. If you're bringing back, they had a 10% decline in season ticket this offseason. It was a 10%. If you bring him back, and we've seen the stands the last few games, and it's going to get worse the final 2 home games. What do you think the non-renewal is going to be? My guess is probably like 30%, maybe more. And that's, again, the money is not the ticket money is not as important as it used to be. It's still like a $40 million thing in your budget. It's still rather significant. I shouldn't say 40 million. It was like 28, 29 million. It was right around there. I think as of like 2023, it's still a big part of your budget, the tickets for Wisconsin football games, but it's not as big as it used to be. But if no one's showing up and you are lagging behind both in the stands and on the field, and I think it gets to a point where the apathy sets in, kind of like it did back in the 80s. And there are still people that are going to be pissed off. We know that just based on talking to people right now, that there are people that are still upset. But there are, I think, there's more apathy now than ever before, and that's the worst place to be.
$1 million if you're right, nothing if you're wrong. 30 seconds. Do you think they win a game this year? The rest of the way?
No. Wow. Who?
Well, yeah, I know, but
they can't score.
I know, but football's weird, man. As soon as you think, well, this team won't lose another game, then they lose one, or they're not going to beat anybody, and then they beat somebody. You know, football's weird, and still you confidently say no.
But like,
which is the right answer.
Are they going to beat Oregon?
No.
Washington's a top 25 team now, or should be in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, no, they're not. They lost to Michigan. But they can actually throw the ball, so that's going to be a problem.
Football team. Yeah,
that's going to be a problem for Wisconsin. At Indiana, no. Home to Illinois,
they might lose by 60. If there's a game where he's going to put it on. He's not effing around.
He's going to put it. He's going to put it on him. He's going to put everything on. Wisconsin back in 2010 put 83 on Indiana. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and put 83 on Wisconsin. Now, here's the thing. The defense is still fighting. So, like, I don't know that it's ever going to get to that point. But if it could, it would either happen this Saturday or it happened that Saturday at Indiana. And then you go to Minnesota in the finale. Minnesota obviously beat Nebraska this past week. That is not a new thing. They've beaten Nebraska like 6 straight times. But would you feel confident saying, oh, yeah, they're going to go up there and take care of business on the last day of the season? Absolutely not.
Take care of business? No.
For who? No, like go up there and get the axe. For who? Yeah. For what?
Yeah. For what? Well, I would agree. All right, but I'm glad you gave me a confident answer. I appreciate that, Zach. I will see you, if not tomorrow, Monks in Sun Prairie on Thursday night. I'm going to stop out for Thorson and Heilprin.
We can't wait. We'll have the cold beer waiting for you.
It's the best beer. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Grant.
Zach